I was horrified when I moved there because, I mean, when we moved into our house, you know, interracial, biracial, mixed race couple, whatever you want to call it, people shot our dog. They went in front of our house with horns saying they did a petition for us not to move in. Yeah.
Hello, friend.
Hello, lover.
Guess who's in my chair today? It's Cara.
It's Cara Young.
It's Cara.
Or you can call me Cara.
I always say Cara from the story you told me when you met Joyce.
I used to care.
Cara.
I used to care,
it's Cara.
but I don't anymore.
How did Joyce say it?
She was like, "Is your name Cara?" And I go, "It's Cara." Are you talking about Cara? I used to be way bitchier than I am now, I think. I'm way more defensive, I think.
Where do you think it comes from?
I don't know, like conditioning, like you grow up with a defensiveness, maybe. I think I was more defensive when I was younger than I trained myself not to be so defensive.
You are the way you are. I am the way they are. We've been friends for 30 years.
I think so.
Right?
I think so.
And you are one of my best friends.
This is true.
We are, and I hate this saying because I've had people say it to me, we are family.
If you are on vacation with just myself, my sons, and my husband, you definitely are family.
Yeah, and Peter has said it. He called me to say it, which I thought was so kind.
He doesn't like that many people.
You know, I was kind of all over the place about where we would go today. And, you know, you and I have such a unique... Our difference in how we were raised is uniquely, people forget that mixed race people, meaning black and white mixed people in particular, their range of craziness is insane. It's massive. We're not the same.
No, of course not.
And
if your mom is black and your dad is white, or white and black, a white mother,
let's go down the different scenarios.
You're going to be different.
If you're a white woman with a black man, and you were a couple, and he hit the road or she died, then depending upon who you were, or depending upon what happened, what that dynamic was, you went with your dad or you went with your mom.
Sure.
Or your parents stayed together like yours, and you were raised with your white dad and your black mother. A generation of people who she was queen mother.
Yes.
Black queen mother from the South, and your dad was a red. Did your dad have red hair? He had red hair. He's a beautiful Robert Redford, blue eyes, beautiful white man, and it's like the perfect mixed race couple from the.
They got married.
Our parents were from the 50s and 60s. You're right.
Yeah, they've been married 60 years, August 31st. Yes.
60?
Yes.
So
he's
when
so
did they
kind
get
to her. He's so kind to her. It's so sweet.
Our parents were in their heyday, and they're probably their 20s in the 60s, right?
My parents are Haight-Ashbury parents.
Right.
I was born in San Francisco. All of us were. My father was in the military, and her mother moved to California, so she followed her because she wasn't raised by her mother. Mm-hmm. And she moved out there when she was 18, and she met my father a few years later. And so I want to say that my grandmother actually introduced them, but not to try to get them together, just as people that were a similar age. And
your black grandmother.
Yes, yes. Didn't know my other one. You know that. My parents were not. I never met my mom's father. My parents, funnily enough, both come from divorced homes, which is not common for people who were born in the 40s.
Right.
And my father's parents were divorced when he was maybe 12, and I barely knew my grandmother. She didn't want to know us because my father married my mother. She did the whole house, cows and horses don't mix, and blah, 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 blah. And she was pretty awful. When I was 9 years old, I didn't understand, like, why? Oh, all my grandparents are alive, but I only knew my mom's mother and my dad's father. Mm-hmm. So I thought it was very, very strange, and I wrote them both a letter at 9. So I said, it's embarrassing. It was very painful for me. So my grandmother, my dad's mother, wrote "Return to Sender." I don't know this person. And my mom's father, in red, corrected all my grammatical errors and sent it back to me. And so I was like, you know what? I'm good. I'm good. I don't need to meet either of you.
Right.
And my mom has this wonderful idea about her father, that he was this wonderful man. And I let her have it, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
But my mom's father died when I was 19 or 20 years old. I never met him.
Right.
My mom had 6 children. One died. And I'm like, your father's a good guy, really. And you have 6 children and one dies, and he's never come to see us. I don't think he's a good person. I'm sorry. I don't. And, but I don't hate him because I don't know him to have that feeling about him. Yeah. I did meet my grandmother in my early 20s.
On which side?
My father's mother. I met her. I went to meet her.
You did meet her?
I did meet her a couple of times. What happened was, people feel differently about you when you're on the cover of Vogue, you know? Right. So my cousins told her, look at her name. That's Cara Young. That's, that's your grandchild. And Beulah.
So unfortunately, I got a little too comfortable because we're best friends, family, and I didn't even introduce you. But because everyone knows it, everyone may not know that not only are we friends, but we are business partners.
Yes.
And Cara is the reason why I have Hair Rules, and Hair Rules exists.
Cheddar.
The product line. What did you say? There you go. Ching, ching. The reason why we have the salon and the product line, because your husband, Peter, saw it fit to believe in a dream that I had and an idea, and we'll get to that later. But
you went somewhere else.
I went somewhere else
because you said you want to go deep. You want to go hard.
Go deep, right? Deep, and you, in case you don't know, whoever you are listening and watching, that Cara is a former supermodel that is, how many Vogue covers did you have? No, American Vogue.
Oh, 3.
3?
Yeah.
And 3?
Yeah.
I thought it was 4.
It's 5 because I think maybe you think the German ones are American ones.
Oh, okay, yeah.
There's 2 German Vogue covers.
And that you were Abaddon's last cover, Anna Wintour's first.
Yeah, I think so. I think they corroborated on that because he had on May 4th of last year, they had his 100th, what would have been his 100th birthday, and they had a retrospective, and they called me. They said, did you know you were Abaddon's last cover? And I was like, of course. I did not know. They said you were his last cover ever.
Oh, wow.
The one with the teddy bears. And I did not know that.
Right.
And I was like, of course I know.
Was that Patrick Kelly? No.
I think so. It was, I can't remember the teddy bears. They were so cute. Moschino.
Oh, okay.
Moschino.
Yeah.
I think it was.
When we first met, it was through our friend Kevin Mancuso, who I used to assist. Amazing Kevin Mancuso. And he sent you to me. And I was like, when you move to New York, at the time that I moved to New York, there are models and celebrities. It's a world of that, right? And so everyone looks familiar. It's just like, so she looked like these beautiful light-skinned black girls that one's name was Peaches in school, and she was fine, but she fought a lot.
I always think you're joking when you say Peaches in them.
No. And so when I met you, I was like, damn, she is fine. Where do I know her from? Right? Oh, because she's been on the cover of all these magazines that I moved to New York and I said to you, I was like, she said, where are you from? And I was like, from this dead ass town. I moved from in Concord, California, which is 20 minutes outside of San Francisco. And I just want you all to know that I came out to my family when I was 18, and my aunt said, oh, I'll put you through beauty school if you come live with me in San Francisco. We drove for like 15 hours, I think it was, from Arizona to San Francisco.
Oh, that's so far. We used to do that drive.
Right?
Brutal.
And we drive up at night to this like suburb.
It's not San Francisco.
House. I was
Track
like,
home.
this is not San Francisco. What the fuck? It was fucking Concord.
Yeah.
And I lived there for 6 months. There was a young black gay boy killed on the BART.
I remember.
There was a black man hung in the park. There was two black men stabbed outside of. This was all in 6 months.
Yeah, I grew up there.
and so, anyways, you said to me, she's like, yeah. She says, that's where I'm from, and I was like, damn, you lived there, because Concord was rough.
Yeah, I didn't know it was.
It was some. I was chased in a car by some rednecks. Me and my punk rock friends from beauty school, and we were chased on Contra Costa Boulevard, and I had to go into a police station because they were running us off the road. It was crazy.
So I was horrified when I moved there because we were from San Francisco.
Right.
And people didn't point and stare and look at you. I mean, when we moved into our house, interracial, biracial, mixed race couple, whatever you want to call it, people shot our dog. They went in front of our house with horns saying they did a petition for us not to move in. Yeah, I'm talking about it now. I probably never told you. I never told my husband until 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I just said, he just couldn't believe how my parents are so positive and so.
Yeah, they are.
My mom is not defensive at all. She's very proud of who she is, and she's a very dignified, elegant person, and she was raised to be that way.
What did your mom tell you when this guy took
So my mom, my mom would be mad that I was wearing jeans right now. Why don't you have an dress? Why don't you have a skirt? She's a Southern belle.
Right.
So my mom said to me, some guy came over to my house and he honked the horn, and so I went running out. I had my high ponytail, and my mom grabbed my ponytail and she said, no whores live in this house. Don't ever run to a man. He comes to the door and says hi to your father. And I was like, okay. But because she did that, believe me, I was so embarrassed that she was disgusted with me. That had the most effect on my behavior and becoming ladylike, because she was looking at me as if, are you really that?
Yeah.
And she taught me, she's not a panicky person. She's not a fidgety person.
No, she's not.
She's very calm.
That's where you get that from?
Yes. I used to kick my leg all the time. Like, I had to send my younger son to occupational therapy because he was very fidgety and he'd keep getting up. And
I'm not laughing at that. I'm laughing at, because friends oftentimes pick up things that that one another do.
Yes.
And you do a thing like this.
I know.
I do it too.
When I get vexed, I know you always laugh at me. So I sent. So they were asking my history and where did he get this from, and I said that when I was younger I was fidgety and I used to kick under the table, and they go, how did you stop? And I go, my mother going like this to me, they don't move. And modeling really trains you to you have to
bring it down.
Yes, you have to be composed, move when you want to move, and move in the right places. I mean, I'm less guarded now with that, but when I was younger, the last thing I wanted to do was embarrass my mom.
Right.
The last thing I wanted to do.
That's amazing, because that's where we find the people that we love the most, the ones you want to make proud.
Yes.
But you've also, different from me, and I'll tell you about me that you already know, but you walk through the world much more confident in white spaces than I do.
Yeah.
Because you had both of your parents.
The identifying.
And
yes.
and that's what it is. I remember when we first started the line, you know, I'm doing all this research about who's going to be looking for our audience.
Right.
Like, I should contact mixed race. There were all these, remember, chat rooms, not blogs.
Yes.
Before blogs were chat rooms. And I was like, I looked up like mixed race people. And there were all these chat rooms and support groups for mixed race people. I'm like, what you bitches got to be mad at?
Yeah.
And I discovered that I was like, oh, they're different. They're struggling with their identity because of, again, sky's the limit of what that dynamic could be between their parents.
Sure.
And who that woman was, who that white woman was, who that white man was, who that black person was, who that black man was. It's different. It's such a hodgepodge. You don't know what you're going to get. And that's mixed race people. You got the obvious, which to me is that you identify as a black woman, but you don't care whether people see you as Greek or Italian, or a lot of people do think you are because you have African American features.
We're not going to have the same experiences. My friend Jay Davidson is also like you. Has a black father and a white mother. And he hasn't seen his father since he was 3. He thinks he's dead.
Yeah.
And him and his sisters grew up with their white mother in England. And, you know, he doesn't think he's anything but black.
Yeah.
But I don't like when people tell me, like, you can think whatever you are.
Yeah.
Because I can't control what other people think of me. That's why I say my circle of concern is not as large as one may think. It's not. It's very small.
It is not.
Yeah. I don't.
I'm like, you're so aloof. It's not for any particular reason. She's just aloof.
So I don't care. Like when there was an article about me in the New York Times a few years ago, and Russell Simmons called me. He's like, "Why did you say you were biracial?" I go, first of all, I didn't read it. Because unless you're going to say something really kind to me about me, a puff piece, I'm actually not going to read it. Yeah. Just tell me highlight the good stuff.
Right.
And so I said, first of all, I didn't say that. And so I said, I'm not going to, you expect for me to reject my parent? Why would I do that? What my father was an amazing person. He's a complete giver. Yeah. And I'm not going to say that he's not my dad, or I don't identify with
who
my aunts and uncles on his side. Of course I do. But I am how I look, so I don't think about it as much as other people do. I don't walk into a room. It's not my everyday occurrence of racial things. It's not. You
make it easier for white people to put you on the cover of Vogue, I think, because I say that because when they're always like, who was the first black woman, or how many covers did a black woman get on this cover, yada yada yada.
I think it was Beverly Johnson. No,
it was Beverly Johnson,
1973,
right?
I think, yeah,
and a few others, but. I think you also came in at came in at a really great time because light skin was in. Remember Luther Vandross, "Stop the Love"?
Yeah.
Right? That was it for light skin. That was killing it. And it's funny because Tia Williams and a slew of other my clients, when they found out we were friends because we opened the salon, they were like, "That Cara?" Like,
I love her.
I had her on my wall as a teenager.
Like Erica.
Right.
She's so cute.
Like they had your picture from Vogue magazines on their wall. Like
good.
Right. Good. I think that's also, some people are confused when, as you navigate publicly as a public figure, having been a model and been in the press for whatever reason, this, that, and the other, good and bad, they're even surprised that, when people said, because you dated Donald at one point, and they're like, she dated him? Like, well, yeah, why are you surprised? I mean, Donald was handsome at one point in his life in the early 90s, and that's when you kind of dated him. And I mean, what's so far-fetched about that? And also, all girls like thugs. He's a thug. It was what it was.
Ellen Barkin said to me once, when she got together with Ron Perlman, who I love them as a couple, because she made him better. She made him funner, more accessible.
Yeah.
So Ellen said to me, this is as far as your thug comment. She said to me, I said, are you and Ron? And she goes, he's such a prick. And I said, yeah. And she goes, I love it. And I go, until you don't, you know.
Right.
Which is what happened with them, you know.
Yeah, but that's what happens with most women who are attracted to thuggy, outspoken, crazy mofos until it runs its course.
Yes.
I was surprised early on in our friendship to discover how domesticated you were.
Oh, yeah. I'm making the beds and clean. Yeah.
Fixing the eggs, and I lived with you for a period of time.
You did. It was fun.
It was a really good time. Thank you for that.
I'm glad you lived with me. I love that. And it was very, can I stay in your basement? Yeah, come on.
It wasn't a basement.
It was a giant room.
You know,
It was a giant room. A giant room.
Yeah, but you were out of town most of the time, so
Yes.
I slept in your bed.
I knew it. My husband has a hard time. My husband has a hard time with it because he says, when my friends come, they barely bring clothes, they barely bring shoes. He goes, does anybody have their own coat? Does anybody have their own shoes? And he doesn't. And now my nephew, Kalen, and both my sons are the same size. And he's like, what is this wearing each other's things?
right.
And it makes him crazy. But
It does.
it's like, okay, if you have all the sisters, like one of my sisters was leaving, my sister Katura, she had all her stuff packed in her suitcase. And I came and I go, is anything in that suitcase mine? And she was like, not to my knowledge. And I go, okay. And then my sisters will have some shoes, and I go, Keely will say, you gave those to me. And I go, oh, did I? Keely had an Azadine Elia leather coat. And I said, excuse me? She goes, you gave this to me. And I was like, are you sure? I must have been heavily drinking that night.
I stopped drinking.
Yesterday?
No, I haven't had a drink. Okay, I had a tequila, but I haven't had a drink in like 3 weeks because I started sleeping again.
I'm glad. Drinking does not help you sleep. You always wake up.
Well, I was forced to drink because of the insomnia that I got 2 years ago, as you well know.
I do know.
And
I'm sorry that you went through that, because not sleeping can make you insane. But are you California sober? Where you drink a little bit and take a couple of pills? That's California.
No, I can't take pills anymore either.
No, you shouldn't. They make you fidgety, nervous.
I will tell that story at some point. And I think I had the most, and all of my clients know, I'm transparent and an open book. And I think that's why this who's sitting in my chair, who's in my chair, was so important because of how much help that I've gotten from my clients.
Yes.
As much as I help them, I've gotten equal care.
But you're receptive to it.
Yeah.
And it's
Because
good.
you told me a long time ago, like, you have to want to be better. And you do. You have to be self-aware. And I'm amazed at how many people aren't self-aware. And I mean self-aware to the point to where you're stuck in your fucking life. Like, no, you got to move out of that, because it's different than being self-aware, like, oh, he just doesn't know how he's being
right
with people out publicly, versus being self-aware with your behavior and how you're able to function in life. That's different.
But you're very good and receptive about, you've grown so much in the last decade, I would say, and you could have regrets about having a relationship, but it teaches you a lot and you learn a lot. You learn how to deal with it.
I don't have regrets
You shouldn't.
because of you and Michelle, and like you were you were two people in my life that supported the relationship. And I remember telling him, I was like, Negro, you don't know how big that is from where I stand with your ass.
But it affects you if somebody that you love, like if I had a boyfriend that my mom didn't like,
Yeah.
it would affect me. It would bother me, you know, and I keep to my own counsel a lot, but it does affect certain people. It does affect me, their opinions, and I really care what my husband thinks of me. And there's certain things I don't do and don't say because I'm respectful to our relationship. I mean, my past comes up. Like the other night, I went to my friend Drina's birthday dinner.
Yeah.
And her father was mad at me for somebody that I used to go out with because he doesn't like him.
Uh-huh.
And so I was laughing with Drina about it, and I said to her dad, I go, I'm not mad at you for having a baby at 80. You know why? Because it's not my business, you know?
Right.
Who I went out with is not your business. And then we kissed and made up, and all is good.
Oh, really?
Yes.
All that?
Oh, yeah,
all
we're
those
totally
years?
fine. We're totally fine. I like him. He's an interesting person, you know? But he's not my friend. Drina is, so, you know.
Yeah, I know. I thought that this, probably the conversation about color was so relevant because of Kamala Harris.
Yes. It's
and,
interesting.
You know, we were, black people in this country were told that they were black.
Absolutely.
The one drop came not from black people. They have unfortunately, I think, hijacked it, and the comments that I see online from black people about Kamala Harris not being black is insane to me. But I also know that it's a very small percentage of people. But when you hear it, it's crazy because we didn't make that up. Racist white America at some point made sure that you were black. If you were half, you were still black. And so there's so much to unwrap for mixed race people. And to your point, like, you can't tell me how I identify.
Yeah.
And part of the reason we're starting hair rules was you can't necessarily dictate. Yes, the majority of people with kinky hair may be black, but there are also many other people that are not black, who don't identify as black, that have kinky hair.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that some lineage in their family there wasn't a black person or a white person. But I say all that to say is that I had a difficult time as a young adult assimilating into white culture because I lost my mother when I was 3. She took her life while I was in bed with her. And you said something to me a long time ago. She was like, oh my God, baby, it's just, you're so lucky. I was like, why? She's like, because she could have taken you with her. And I was like, damn.
I do think that. I thank God she didn't, you know, because it's tragic. It's tragic that she felt so lost and alone, but at least, you know, she left you for us, you know.
Yeah.
So.
So that's the other thing, is that I was not raised with anyone white in my family. I was the white person in my family, meaning everyone was brown skinned, and chocolate. And then there was me with red hair and freckles. And the only unique thing I thought about me was that I had red hair and freckles, not that I was light.
Right.
You know, I think for us, the teasing comes from bullying comes from our family first. My cousins would say, I'm a little white boy, and I'd go to my aunts, they were like, you know, Aunt Geraldine, tell them I'm not white. But my world was black.
Right.
And I didn't think that I was any better than anybody or anybody was better than me. That's how I was raised. It's funny because it only dawned on me a few years ago that I was like, my dad must have been buck wild when they left Oklahoma, the country. My grandparents were sharecroppers, and you know, back then, in order to leave the house, you had to be married, or you could follow a sibling who had got married. Oh, right, because otherwise you had to stay and pick cotton. Right. And so my aunt married a guy in the service, and they got stationed in Bremerton, Washington. So that's how our family wound up in Seattle. Right. So. And I was like, my dad must have been buck wild, but not only he realized he could talk to a white woman, but he could really have relations with her. And my aunt was my mother's best friend, so she introduced her to my dad. And so, free love in the 60s. Right. They were supposed to get married, and she found him in bed with somebody, and whatever. And it was devastating.
It's hard, yeah.
And we picked up and left and went to LA. And I think I was around 2 at the time, but I have a vivid memory of my childhood. And for the most part, when we were in Seattle, we were with my dad and my aunts, and we were never allowed into the house, into my grandmother's house, unless my mom's stepfather, white stepfather, was out of town. He was in the service too, because she wanted him. She was trying to coerce her to give me up for adoption. And
so sad,
right? Crazy,
like as if you haven't had enough rejection, you know.
Yeah, but you know.
But you did have people. You did living with your cousins and aunts, and I see your family.
Well, that was my happy place as a kid growing up.
Really sweet.
It wasn't living with my dad and his new living girlfriend. After my mom died, it was with my cousins.
See,
like trying to get to my aunt's house.
I didn't appreciate my parents' marriage until I was older. Like, their care for each other and their kindness towards each other, and they prefer each other to us. And they get mad when I say that, but I think it's a positive thing for you to prefer your spouse. And when Keely and I were younger, we used to like try to pit them against each other and say, she's crazy, you know, mom's crazy, she's so mean. And my dad would always take her side. But when you have that support, I really took it for granted. I took it for granted. My mother doing my hair when I started modeling, and then all of a sudden I'm like, no one put my hair in rollers, and my mom put me under the dryers and rollers.
Most people may not know how much hair you have. You have it's an insane amount of hair.
I have less than I used to. I have less than I used to. My
and
sister,
then you have a sister who has as much.
Katura has
but
more
you have
hair.
more hair than the law allows. It's an obtrusive amount of hair. Would you say? Thank God for keratin.
Yes, I'm happy with my keratin. I'm very happy with my keratin.
But you have so much hair. I mean, I will sit here. We could sit here for hours and redo your hair.
Right.
That's how we found each other. Because I was nice and green and wanted to do hair all day. Not like now.
But I'm sure I can see you though. When I was here the other day, Dickey was kind enough to do my niece's keratin for her 13th birthday, and I used to like it. Used to like it a lot. It's cathartic for someone to come and talk to a hairdresser and say their woes and say what they like.
What was your worst hair experience ever?
I have had a lot of them. Did
you have any with me?
No.
You don't remember?
I think you did do a crazy... Wait, what did you do?
Because Michelle's, when she comes on, she's going to tell me with hers that I did to her. And I did the same thing to you, but you don't remember.
I think you did. I think you did cut my hair in a bob for a picture once.
That's not
you did. You absolutely did, though, because you felt like it for a picture. For the thing in New York Times, you cut my hair to here.
That wasn't me.
Yes. I'm going to find the picture and prove it to you.
You mean the picture that's in the book?
I don't remember. But anyway, I don't have that many bad hair experiences with you. I've had them with a lot of people. I've been sent home because of my hair.
I burnt your bang off at your house in your bathroom.
Oh yeah, he did. He did curl my hair, and he's like talking and chatting away. And then all of a sudden, it's the fire. And he goes, "Please tell me that was fake." I go, "No, it was not."
It was those newfangled electric irons.
I know, they're so hot.
Sometimes they malfunction.
Right.
And it got too hot. The same thing would happen with Michelle. She's going to tell you.
I think it was human error on your part.
Whatever.
It was human error. But I think that your hair thing is a big deal in women's lives. It connected my mom with a lot of people.
With knowing how much hair you have and how many jobs that you've done over the years, I'm amazed that you made it out looking as beautiful as you did, because you got a lot of hair. And I don't know a lot of hairdressers who knew besides Howard Fugler, who knew how he was good.
And Sam McKnight was good.
Sam McKnight, Kevin Mancuso, but Kevin was great. Took forever, and I love how long he takes.
Sam McKnight has never ever blow dried my hair straight. He always just works with my neck.
Really?
Never. And I didn't realize it until I was like looking back at pictures, and I was like, he is lazy. Steven wouldn't have it. Like Orbe would do my hair, and he was like you, he'd get lost in it and do it for like 2 hours. And Steven just said to me, "Don't come here with your hair wet.
Right.
Like you just washed it and we're gonna do it." He's like, "Come here with your hair already blow dried straight and we'll do it." And I said, "Okay." And that's what I'm saying. All relationships, whether they're romantic or work-wise, you learn from them. You learn from them.
Are all of those photographers gone?
The only one, Patrick is gone, sadly.
They were But I mean,
Steven's around. He's just extremely reclusive.
okay.
If I see Steven, he will not say hi to me. I'm going to come up and give him a big blubbering kiss next time I see him.
But they were like superstars.
Yes.
Patrick DeMarchier, Stephen Meisel,
Superstars.
Stephen Klein, Arthur
Herb Ritz.
Elgort, Herb Ritz.
Arthur Elgort's still around.
He is. Does he
Albert
still work?
Watson's still around.
Albert Watson.
He is. He's great. Is there something you want to know about me? Something you want to ask me?
I do, but I'm kind of afraid.
Let me see. I like your family stuff. I like my family stuff. I remember when my cousins were here once, you're like, you know your white cousins.
Oh, because they was white.
But they're my first cousins. If I have the same grandparents as somebody, I'm going to know them, you know? Peter laughs at me. He's like, you're so corny. But I do.
Yeah, there's no one white in my family. And so
that you know.
I have no, there is not. Well, I'm sorry. My cousin's kids have children that are biracial. So, my cousin Malcolm and his woman.
And so you've done your DNA, like you.
No, I want to though.
Because if you do your
I want to know more.
DNA, they will say this is your first cousin.
Yeah.
And they will. Someone else that's
I
done
wonder
it.
where my mom's side of the family
That's why I'm
is.
saying that's the point, is because you know the other side. If you're curious, and they will contact you if they want to.
Well,
Because
I don't
they know you exist. Most
Well,
certainly.
I have a brother that when the morning we woke up to her dad, there was an infant. She had gotten pregnant by
Terrible.
another man. And so there was me, the 3-year-old, and an infant in the house. And I tried to dress her and realized that, like, actually she's not going to wake up. Go ahead and tend to the baby. So I put on a velvet suit. I had a blue velvet suit. And there was this infant. The phone kept ringing. All of a sudden, we were split up. I went into he was an infant, so he was a closed adoption, and I went into foster care for 2 weeks until my stepmom called my dad to tell him where I was and what had happened. But they were not going to tell. Like, I went straight to foster care. Imagine had my grandmother not told my dad where I was.
Thank God she did.
Whew.
Thank God
I dodged
she did.
a bullet.
Yes. Because if you grew up in care, who
Foster
knows?
care. There were 2 homes. There was one home, and there were a bunch of foster kids. And I remember the oldest one took me and the younger girl in the back of the house to try to kiss and some shit. I was like, ooh, this is some nasty stuff, right?
It's really sad.
It's crazy, right? The shit when kids are left alone. When I moved to New York, I was like, I'm gonna find my brother. And remember microfiche? Right?
Of course.
There was before computers, there were microfiche, and it's like it took an hour to get through one slide, and you had to go to the library. And I literally found, you have to go to these I went to this thing on the Upper East Side, this organization on how to find your lost relatives. There were literally 2 black people in the entire audience, and the little Jewish woman, it was her organization. And the crazy thing is what they would do to mothers, white women who had gotten pregnant, they would send their children upstate for adoption,
right?
Because it was a shame. And the little Jewish woman who grew up in a black community adopted, and she said, black people don't give up their kids. They take care of everybody else's kid. And so she put me through this underground network that to try to where you could find your lost relatives and closed adoptions in Sacramento, California.
Oh, right.
And so I had to call away, speak to someone on the phone. Then they say, oh, you have this? And I would just like, yeah, I have to call this other person. So the person at the courthouse has the information that you need. They just by law can't give it to you.
No, of course.
So they'll lead you around to this other person who will say, okay, what's your address? And they'll send you all your microfiche. I had 13 of them. And everything matched up to my brother's day, age, except there was one digit that had a nick out of it. And I was like, I wonder if they did that on purpose.
Maybe. And
then at that point I was like, you know what, I have a brother. I don't need to find this nigga.
But is he black or is he?
He's black.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
so she liked
the
brothers Johnson.
I don't know, he'd probably be a year younger than me, but I don't know. I lost interest because I was
But
like, I have a brother, and I love my brother.
That's nice. It's nice. It's like the way that you say things. It doesn't matter what color he is. I was just curious,
Yeah.
I was just curious. She was just overwhelmed. Maybe she had postpartum, She probably had postpartum
That shit
depression.
is real. Why are we now acknowledging that women won't go through postpartum?
Not every woman does, though.
But a lot of them do.
Yes.
And so for something to never be acknowledged for many years.
My sister Keely did.
Right.
My mom, she could not care for her son. She was too sad.
Yeah.
And it was a chemical imbalance.
Right. That's crazy.
It is a real thing. I'm fortunate.
Well, my
I've
mom was
seen
also epileptic. And
It's a
so for
lot.
years, we assumed that my mom died of epilepsy. And it wasn't until I moved to Concord and my aunt, who lived on base housing, in order for me to legally live on base housing, she had to have legal guardianship of me. And I was just
Okay.
18. And so we sent away for my mom's death certificate, which I had seen before. And I got the mail that day, coming home from beauty school.
Oh, they wanted to keep it a secret from you.
And nobody kept it a secret from us. We all assumed
Okay.
that she died from epilepsy.
Okay.
Because I remember having epileptic fits as a child. So there was no question. But when I got the mail that day, not only did they send the death certificate, but they sent the coroner's certificate. And it said an overdose of phenobarbital and barbiturates.
Oh my God, poor thing.
Suicide.
So sad.
And I was like, I put my fist through the wall. I was angry. I cried for like a half an hour. And then I was like so thankful for the family that I had.
Right.
Like my black family let me, as a child, when I went to live with them, let my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, like any questions that I had as a child was not inappropriate.
That's
But
good.
your mother was wonderful. She was my best friend, and yada
That's
yada.
good.
Yeah, they really drove home that my mother was a wonderful.
She was-
and yes, she died.
she was
and she killed
depressed.
herself. And all, like, there's no filter to black people. Which is, I think, is a big
Right.
superpower of them, right? And it's an envious thing for a lot of people because they just don't want to hear particularly black women. They get the angry black women. No, the jealousy really is that she's shooting from the hip. And you wish you could.
It's funny. It's really funny.
You're that way. You don't.
I completely am. I'm also a pro-black person, but I'm not anti-white. I
Yeah.
don't think that you need to be. And I think that our world and our political environment right now is very divisive. And they're
Yeah.
doing it on purpose. Like when you were saying something about a negative
are doing it on
review,
purpose.
the squeaky wheel gets oiled. The people that complain, those things are highlighted. They're set to make you think a certain way and bring out certain emotions in you, but they're not necessarily true, and they're not necessarily the popular belief. It's just what you're supposed to be made to feel. I don't like that. I don't like my children to be told in school how to think or feel. I want to know on the news, in my life, tell me what happened. Please don't tell me how to feel about it.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that's the things that we own is our feelings. Just like
Yeah.
I can't interpret your life because it's different than mine. I have siblings. We don't feel the same way about our parents. We don't feel the same way about the way we were raised. It's just very normal.
Yeah.
My experience is different. I think because I left home at such a young age that I have a different point of view than my siblings do. I have a different.
I guess I do too.
I didn't realize to cook every day and for my mom to pick. Cause Sandra said to me, my assistant, she said, "You always complain about your mom, and you always." I go, because that's the funny part. She goes, "You didn't tell me that she did everybody's hair. Kathy and anybody who had curly hair in the neighborhood, she would help them with it." And she used to work at her friend's salon all the time called Satin Dolls in Martinez. And
I love Martinez.
Yeah, it was a really pretty. I think it's where the martini was created. I want to say
Maybe.
it's definitely where Joe DiMaggio is from.
Oh, okay.
It's a little old town.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you should come home with me when we go, and you can
I
have
told you I
memories.
would. So I'd like to talk. We were in business together. Now I'm in business with my family, and there's so much stigma, I think, in the black community about doing business with one another. And I will never not believe that black people can't do business with one another, and black families can't do business with one another. And I think the key to it working is that you have to have as much respect for the friendship or family relationship as you do the business. And once one is remotely disrespected, there may be a problem. Would you say that? I don't. Maybe I'm saying it the wrong way.
I think that you are going. For you and I think we would have never had a fight if it wasn't for having a business together. We've never had a disagreement except for business.
No, yeah.
So you have to think about it that way. So it definitely places a different kind of pressure, different dynamic on things because.
But I also begged for your friendship because you were my best friend. And you know, you're good in business. I'm
better in business for failings that I had. I'm better at things because of not doing things the right way.
Yeah, but you know how to read people, good or bad, and that's a gift. And actually, and most women do. I don't think they use it the way they should. In terms of identifying, like business-wise, who's a better fit,
Right.
But you know, I'm sure Peter has become dependent upon you in certain situations, business situations, to read a situation with a potential partner or business deal.
Well, he had one time he was hiring somebody, and we were at the Carlisle, and it was like 8 of us at dinner, and I said, "Oh, did you hire him already to be your CFO?" And he said, "Yeah, this is like the dinner, the congratulations dinner." I was like, "Oh, okay." And he goes, then of course it all went to hell. It was awful. It was a really, really bad fit for them. And he's like, "Why didn't you say something?" I go, "Because you'd already done it. It's not, I can't."
Right.
I remember when we were hiring somebody and I text you because she kept doing air quotes. and you go, "You get annoyed at such little things." And I go, "But those little things are..."
I know. Her whole fucking existence was an air quote. And I'm like, bitch.
They mean other things. The air quotes mean other things. They always do.
You're also one of the most generous people I know.
Thank you. That's what my husband says too.
Yeah, you are.
Well, I try to, it's important for me to be thoughtful, but I treat everybody with respect, but everybody's not going to be my friend, but you know, I try to be.
Well, thank you for sitting down for a second, again.
I'll do it anytime. You can ask me anything.
I hope so.
He gets scared to ask me things, but we talk about everything.
We do.
We're dirty dogs.
Oh, I used to send you the most inappropriate stuff when I was high. That was fun.
That was really fun. It was really fun.
Well, again, thank you. I really enjoy our conversations.